Hey, what's up everybody? TJ here. Today we're out at Copper testing the directional offering from Whitespace, the Montano. Let's get into it. All right, so you guys know, if you do want to read more about this snowboard, I have it linked down in the description of this video so that it's easy for you to find. And also for your reference, before I jump into the construction on the Montano, I'm 5'10", I weigh around 155 pounds, and I tested this board in size 155. Now, this is the first directional offering from Whitespace by Sean White, if you're unfamiliar. It is like an all mountain focused board, but geared towards softer snow and powder as well. It does have a directional design, of course, so you're gonna get a directional outline, and you'll see this does have a noticeably longer nose up front versus a much shorter tail here in the back. It also has some other directionality built into it here. It does have a setback and taper. You're gonna find that these inserts are shifted about 1.5 inches closer to the tail of the snowboard, naturally keeping your weight further back. And it does run a 4mm taper as well. So just a little bit of a taper. That tail width is gonna be 4mm narrower than the nose. It does run a directional camber profile as well. So you're gonna find a shifted camber in the Montano. Still comes through with that traditional camber, more camber dominant feel, a lot of precision, a lot of power out of this snowboard. So it's gonna be camber from the rear contact point here up to just outside your front binding, where you're gonna find reverse camber up into the nose with this shallower, kind of more gradual uplift on the nose. Versus the tail here, again geared towards powder. So all of those things, that outline which increases the surface area in the front of the snowboard, so there's just naturally more float up here, working with that camber profile, with that taper and everything else to give this board a lot of float as well as more of a maneuverable feel in softer snow conditions. Other than that, you are going to get some carbon fiber built into the layup of this snowboard. So the Montano runs a triaxial fiberglass layup, both above and below the core. So that's 3 directions of fiberglass. That's already going to make the board a little bit more responsive torsionally. That carbon is built in on the 45 here on the diagonals, and that's just going to help amplify the energy and the snap you're going to get out of this snowboard even more and make it more responsive torsionally from edge to edge as well. The last thing I want to highlight on the Montano is that you are going to get a sintered base in this snowboard, which is known to be a higher end base material. It is more durable and faster compared to an extruded base. You do want to make sure to wax a sintered base regularly so it maintains that nice fast feel through the whole season. Definitely make sure you're matching your wax to the snow condition as well, so you're not caught off guard out there. But that's pretty much it for a tech breakdown. Let's get into how this board actually felt out on the mountain. All right, flex and feel. I would say this is a pretty sturdy snowboard. It has some nice power to offer you out there around the mountain. And I would place the flex just a little on the stiffer side of medium. It's got some good stability and a slightly more high performance feel. And flex wise, you do get a little bit more leverage in the nose of the snowboard with that larger platform. So it's a little bit easier to get some flex out there. If you're trying to sit in a press on the tail, you really got to lean into it to get the board to flex. And I would say overall, this board either wants to launch you into the air or just keep you on the ground. And what I mean by that is that if you are trying to sit in a press, whether that's a tail press or a nose press, you're gonna feel that camber and that flex just working to get that board back to its natural state. You're gonna have to muscle through that a little bit to get those presses going. So it's not the most buttery snowboard out there, but on the flip side, once you get used to loading up that tension in the snowboard, it does come through with some pretty good pop. So if you are trying to get some airtime, this board is gonna offer a little bit of extra boost for you, but it's not gonna be the most pressable and buttery. I would say this board has a bit of a more precise feel overall, actually. And you guys know I took this board to some park laps for the test out at Copper as well. And with the directionality and the precision that you get out of this snowboard, I would say it's a little bit more jump leaning. At least that's how I felt on it. I was way more comfortable setting up on the lip of a jump. Although I was keeping it pretty chill out there, to be honest. I was doing a bunch of straight airs, grabs, some small spins and things like that. But if you're the type of rider that does enjoy airtime and you want to go big, I think that you're going to be pretty happy with the stability that you find in this snowboard. but it's not much of a jibber in my opinion. It's just a little bit too much precision for me. There's a lot of power to the edges in this snowboard. It's a little bit wider as well. So I didn't find it super comfy and cozy on the jibs. I did get one nose press I was pretty stoked on, all things considered, on this guy. So not much of a jibber, more of a jumper if you are going to be in the park. But in general, I would say you're going to have a better time hunting down natural features and busting out your twin in the terrain park instead of this guy. But on the off park lap, you still have plenty of fun on the Montano. It's just pretty sturdy and precise. Let's talk about the carving experience on the Montano as well. That was the biggest highlight for me with this snowboard. This thing is a ripping carver. The way you can dive into turns and the way it holds an edge, I think is special. That was a big standout for me on this one. I would describe this board as locked in, nimble, and energetic, if I had to describe the carving experience in 3 words. Now, there's 2 specs I always like to highlight when we're talking about carving on a snowboard. That's going to be the waist width, which at the 155 here on the Montano is going to be 26.2 centimeters. So this thing is actually pretty wide. It's going to accommodate a little bit larger boot sizes comfortably. But whether you wear a big boot or not, I did really enjoy that on the Montano, and I think elevates that carving experience significantly. You can dive into turns, get those more aggressive edge angles going comfortably, not worrying about that heel or toe drag. And once you really get that through your head and you're just diving into turns without worrying, it really changes the game. It does have a little bit of a tighter side cut though. So at this size, you're gonna find a 6.9 meter side cut. So it does throw you into slightly tighter, more aggressive carves, but I think that's a lot of fun to play with on this snowboard because it does hold an edge so well. It holds such a strong edge. Even with that tighter side cut, you can still really dive into turns going fairly fast before you start to feel the board get overloaded with pressure. But I would say you're gonna have the most fun around moderate speed. You know, not really pushing the board too much, just kind of having some fun cruising, using that camber in the board to just energize your carves as you're switching edges. And overall, I'd say this is just a board you can really trust on edge. It's a pleasure on groomers, but has the stability and control to really hold it down anywhere on the mountain. This is a board you can take through some pretty spicy, steep terrain, weave through some trees, or just cruise some groomers with your buddies and elevate that experience significantly. It's not a full-on bomber though. If you do point it straight downhill, you will eventually start to find a little bit of chatter up there in the nose. Nothing where I felt squirrely, but I did notice it a little bit. And it's not a super damp snowboard either. You really feel the texture of the snow well on this one. So, you know, depending on what your preference is, I think that's worth noting as well. I was able to get this board out in the backcountry here in Colorado as well, in some pretty sweet conditions. It was pretty deep snow that day. So let's talk about how this board feels in powder as well. And generally speaking, I would say it floats pretty good. The shape works. I didn't find myself struggling out there to keep the nose up. I wasn't having to ride back foot heavy. I think that if you're looking for like an all-around resort board that you could take out in any condition, use as a powder board as well, the Montano definitely fits that bill. While this board, it might not be as nimble in the deep stuff as a powder specific snowboard, it's definitely gonna get the job done for you. So if you're the type of rider that maybe gets just a handful of powder days a season, or you're not out there seeking deep snow the majority of the time, I think that you're gonna find this board works very well for you. It does leave room in the quiver to maybe add something a little bit more powder specific in the future, but depending on your situation, where you live, what your conditions are, this might be a great choice to handle those days. All right, guys, overall, the Montano is gonna be a board that I would grab for those resort days where I'm just covering ground. You're out there exploring, you're making turns, you're spending some time on groomers, maybe you're doing some hikes. I think that's where you're gonna enjoy this board the most, doing that type of riding, more exploratory resort riding. It does have a little bit of a more high performance feel with a lot of precision and good stability to back that up. So I'd recommend this board to at least high intermediate riders looking for something directional and carvy. A board that is gonna be a lot of fun in groomed, more firm snow conditions, but also works in soft and powder snow. So if you're looking for something like that, consider the Whitespace Montano. Again, I have this board linked down below so it's easy for you to find. Let me know any questions you have as well down in the comments. Let's get a conversation going. I appreciate you guys watching today. And if you got some value out of this video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new here so you don't miss any of our future videos. And I'll see you in a new review next time. Take care, guys.